Located on 225 acres in Garden City, Long Island, Nassau Community College, a member of the State University of New York system, has close to 20,000 students attend the school each year. The college mascot is Leo the Lion, and these are his stories of the school's absolute best and brightest who have graduated over the past 50 plus years. So let's catch up together as the Alumni Association of Nassau Community College proudly presents Lion Tales on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.
Welcome to Lion Tales. My name is Dr. Lynnda Nadien, and I'm director on the board of the Alumni Association at Nassau Community College and a proud Nassau Community College graduate. Together, let's celebrate the successes of our alum and share stories that will inspire, uplift, and hopefully amuse you. Each week, I will introduce you to one of our alumni who will share their Nassau Community College experience and the secrets to their success after graduation. Our Alumni Association has many future projects upcoming, and we look for many new and exciting events on the Nassau Community College Alumni Association pages on Facebook, Instagram, and our webpage. If you have any positive news you would like to share about alumni happenings, we would love to hear from you on our website at ncc.edu/alumni. Today, our distinguished alumni guest is Nsikak Ekong, class of 2019. We would like to welcome Nsikak to Lion Tales, and he is going to talk about his decision to attend Nassau Community College and why he is a distinguished alum. So we welcome you today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here today.
Great. So tell us about, going way back when you first decided to attend Nassau Community College.
So NASA ended up becoming my second choice to go to school. So way back in high school, this is like 2015, 2016 school year. I applied to some colleges. Nassau wasn't one of the colleges that I applied to. A lot of the colleges were private and SUNYs and CUNYs. A lot of them I didn't get into, except for one, which was Hofstra University. Now, of course, Hofstra University is right there. It's close by. Save a lot of money. But the thing with Hofstra was just a lot, and my parents were like, "Ooh, this is too much." So it came around the summer. I was like, you know what? Let me try at Nassau Community College, because a lot of people, they give a bad rep to Nassau a lot, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna try it. And, I applied that same summer in August, and then got accepted immediately and took my placement exams thereafter, and I started September 1st, 2016.
Wow. And so what were some of your favorite courses here that you're a graduate of 2019, so it seems like a long time ago, but it's actually really not that long ago. So what were some of your favorite courses that you took here?
I think the two that I believe that were my favorites is one, of course, the jazz ensemble. So jazz ensemble, it was a class, but it was also an activity as well. I played trombone and cello, so I wanted to at least, some way to incorporate my musical background during college. So I did the jazz band during my last 2 years at NCC, and it was pretty amazing. We get to perform during each semester and get the chance to build our skills build our jazz skills through music. And my other favorite class, it was a C++ class with Professor Lee, and during that class he would tell stories during the lessons, and kind of way to bring that aspect of, okay, I'm teaching you, like the different theories and the different programs, but here's some outside background to it. And that was also where I found out about SUNY Oswego, because he was talking about the different schools that were good for IT or computer science, and he mentioned about SUNY Oswego, and I was like, wait a minute, Oswego, that's like a little ways upstate.
That's far away.
And he was like, yes, it's far away upstate, you gotta go away. I was like, okay, I'll check it out. And it was just through that class and through the way he taught it that, got me more interested in, like, okay, maybe there's some outside opportunities, outside of NCC that can, lead us to the college that we transferred to.
And so your transfer school was SUNY Oswego? Is that where you ended up going?
Yes, it was. There was no other school that I applied to, but it was like SUNY Oswego.
And then what was your major at Oswego?
I majored in information science.
Okay. So now your work as a college and career counselor at Nassau Community College via the Gear Up grant. Can you talk a little bit about how that work is unfolding for you right now as a graduate?
So what the amazing part of this of the Gear Up program is that it allows me to give back to both Nassau Community College, where I graduated, and also Hempstead High School, where I also graduated, class of 2016. And I think the best experience I'm getting from it is, working with faculty and students here, because my role is to work with the incoming freshmen that went to Hempstead High School, who are now attending NCC as freshmen. So just like the class of 2022 high school students. And basically my job is to help them navigate through their first year of college through different campus resources, through academic and student engagement support. So whatever support they would need to. So not necessarily not like a role as like an academic advisor or a professor, but more so like a college navigator and navigating through the different resources. So I don't have the background, to advise them as the other faculty on campus do, but I can lead them to those resources the same way when I was a student here. There wasn't much. I didn't have much support, but this is a way where I can give them that support to navigate them to those different places on campus.
Mm-hmm. And you're also a troop leader for Troop 300 in Hempstead, which is you're an Eagle Scout, and now you are actually the troop leader. So tell us a little bit about what it's like leading the troops.
The best part about with this Boy Scout troop in particular, not only was the troop that I grew up in, but it's also a troop that I always resonated with since I was a kid. And I think the best part about being a Scoutmaster now is being able to take what I learned when I was younger and bring it to the next generation, next generation of Eagle Scouts, I should say, because they all range from the age of 11 to 17, and of course, the big goal for them is to eventually become an Eagle Scout. And the best part about it is being able to mentor them and teach them various skills that can help them, in their academic career in school, but also help them in the outside world when they're interacting with, people in society.
And how do they, the young, leaders of tomorrow, these students that you're working with, how do you approach an Eagle Scout project? Do they come up with some of their own ideas, or or is there a list of something they can choose from?
So it's a wide range of different things. For some, they just think about, okay, this is the project I'm going to do. For a lot of the Eagle Scout projects I've seen in the last decade, a lot of them were revitalizing something in their community. Most majority of them was giving back to the place where they either went to school or went to church, or even a neighbor that they knew. So it was a variety of different things. And there are also some who can't figure out what project to do. So that's where, we have a troop committee, which is full of adult volunteers, and we help them, decide what kind of project they want to do. So like recently we have six boys who are doing the Eagle Scout project, and a lot of them didn't know what they wanted to do. So that's where we would, myself and the other leaders would go out into the community to see, okay, what fits as an Eagle Scout project that our scouts could do.
Yeah, and what are some of the challenges coming out of the pandemic now, post-pandemic? I know that one of the Eagle Scouts that I had worked with, his project was sort of on hold because of materials being back-ordered, and he was holding up, waiting to get it done. And when it was finally completed, it just felt like, this big miracle for everyone. So what have been some of those challenges in getting all of the positive work completed and finalized for the Scouts?
So on the Scout side of things, definitely the one of the biggest challenges is trying to complete not only complete in a timely manner, but also complete it to where it's sufficient enough to be a project. There's a lot of times, because in the Boy Scouts, to become an Eagle Scout, you have to be you have to reach it before you turn 18. So a lot of them that I worked with, were reaching that 18-year-old deadline. So for a lot of them, the challenge was time, but then the other challenge was also with just with their project management, because the big part of the Eagle Scout project is that, yes, you'll get help from adults and their friends and their classmates, their parents. They're the project manager. So it's kind of like The Apprentice, where they're the project manager of this project, and they have to lead it. And sometimes you're gonna be leading people who are gonna be a little bit older than you, those who have experience, those who are wise enough, and be like, hey, you can't tell me what to do. You're a young kid. But for the Eagle Scouts, like I always tell them, like, yes, that's true. They're older than you. They are adults, but they're also, you're the project manager of this project. You're the one leading it. So you're going to have to, direct them because yes, they're going to be hands-on with the project, but they also have to show that leadership part by taking the lead in the project. Like say, hey, go cut the grass, or hey, go paint that bench, or hey, take pictures to show in the book, or, go get refreshments for everybody. So it's not only, being hands on the project, but being able to lead them through each, leading and taking direction in it.
Right, absolutely. Because I think for Eagle Scouts, it's a very small percentage of the Boy Scout population that actually complete. It's maybe like 1 or 2%, right?
It's for like every 100 scouts, only 4 make it to Eagle.
Yeah, and it's such a great thing because usually the ones that complete the Eagle Scout, like you have, you go on to these bigger and better things because you have that burning desire to be the leader and to advocate for yourself.
Yes.
You are listening to Lion Tales on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. I am your host, Dr. Lynnda Nadien, and our guest today is Nsikak Ekong, NCC Class of 2019, a college and career counselor at Nassau Community College. So what are some essential skills or life skills that you think you have and that you're developing in order to become an effective coach and a mentor and, working in the capacity that you're working in now?
Definitely essential skills, being able to work with a lot of students from various backgrounds. Like, for example, the students that I work with, they all come from they all went to the same high school, they all came from the same place, but their needs are going to be very different. For example, last week I was helping a student with a certain app that he needs to do class, because sometimes some professors prefer to use different platforms for students when they have assignments and everything. So I was helping that student with that. There's also another student who's struggling a little bit in one of their classes, so I offered them, hey, they're tutoring services for different courses that you're taking. So I guess the big essential skills being able to handle the different personalities and different backgrounds of students that you're working with, because you never know what students are going to need. So you need to be able to find out, okay, show them like the different resources, and then based on their needs, you'll be able to find, okay, what's the best way for me to help them. Because yes, it's one student, but I'm working with like almost 80 freshmen, so making sure that I'm able to help each one, because some of them are gonna come up and ask for help, and some of them may not say maybe I don't maybe too shy to ask for help.
Right,
so just
yeah.
being able and being open to giving that assistance to them.
Right. It's like having a very large classroom in which some students may be a little bit more willing to verbalize their needs, where some might be very reluctant. So when you look at a reluctant student or someone kind of fearful, but you can't really tell, how would you go about maybe kind of like pulling them into the fold a little bit and helping them pursue that college degree?
Definitely, I would definitely get to know them, because I know there's a lot of students that may not want to open themselves up real quick, because they're in a new environment. It's not like in high school where you're in the same setting every single day. In college, you're going to meet all different kinds of people and do a lot of things that you're not really used to. So I think the first thing I would always do, like any students I meet, I always try to break the ice. Like for example, tomorrow I have an event where I'm going to be meeting with most of the students, and the first thing I'm doing with them is to do an icebreaker, just to get to know them. I'll be like, generic questions like, hey, what's your favorite hobby, or what do you like to read, or what do you like to do on your spare time? Things to to get them comfortable. So then when the time does come for like, hey, we're having these different things. What would you like us? What would you like for me to do to provide those needs to you? And hopefully in that sense they'll be able to come up and say, hey, I need help in this certain thing, or I have a question about getting involved with a certain sport. Do you know anybody that's involved with that, or where I can get involved in? So things like that to help them get more comfortable, so that if they do need assistance, they'll be able to come to me without fear.
That's really amazing, because a lot of the literature coming down from New York State now is about social and emotional learning, and it's not just the pre-K to 12, but it's beyond. And when students come into a higher education setting, a lot of times they're just not used to kind of like the freedom, but then the structure and then exactly how to go from point A to B so that they can complete the semester.
Right.
And so when you're working in the Gear Up program, can you tell us a little bit about how that kind of lays it out for them if they decide to be a part of that program? They're all in a mentorship program?
So in the Gear Up program, there's two sectors of the Gear Up program. There's the K-12 Gear Up program, and then there's the Gear Up program for NCC. So in the K-12 Gear Up program, they're all based in Hempstead High School, and there's a group of tutors, and there's also a coach who works in the College and Career Center, helping students, with the different their different needs, like applying for colleges or applying for financial aid, applying to scholarships, basically helping them, because Gear Up stands for Gaining Early Awareness and Readiness for Undergraduate Programs. So basically, we're helping them, gearing them up for college. And on the collegiate level, for the college, the Gear Up program here is more so helping the students that are currently attending NCC who are part of the Gear Up program, and helping them through their college career, because eventually, the end game for those students is making sure that they graduate with,
right,
if it's in 2 years or 3 years, with either with their AAS or AA degrees,
right, from Nassau. And I think too, it's so interesting how being at Nassau, most of the students will say that they developed a confidence being here, where they came in with very little confidence, but they left confident enough to go to the 4-year school. So when you left Nassau and you went to Oswego, what was that like, going from a community college and then going upstate, which is kind of far away, and in a new environment? What was that like for you as a young man?
It was shocking, very shocking. Because at Nassau, when I was here at Nassau, it was more so I started out not knowing a soul on campus, or not even doing anything on campus. I was the kid that used to go to class and go home, and it would be a repeat for that first semester. It wasn't until I actually started getting involved on campus where I started eventually and inadvertently my name was being out there on campus, whether it was meeting with a certain faculty or administrator, or helping out a student in one of the student organizations. So when going to Oswego, it was almost like a reset, like a reset button. I was still further in my higher education journey, but it was a reset because back pretty much almost back where you brought me back to where I started. Whereas I didn't know a few people, because transfer students in a way they're kind of like freshmen,
right,
but in the sense that they've been to college before, but when they transfer to that 4-year college, it's almost like you're starting over again, but it's still continuing. So there was a point where I would go around campus and people like, "Oh, you're first year? Are you freshmen?" I was like, I'm a transfer student. And they're like, "Oh, where'd you go to school?" I was like, "Went to Nassau." I was like, "Nassau? Where's that?" And I was like, "Oh, it's in Garden City." I was like, "Garden City." And a lot of the student population, they're either from the city or from upstate. And those that are from Long Island, they're from all the way out east.
Right.
So the ones that are from Nassau County, they're like, "Oh, I know where Nassau Community College is. Oh, I know where that place is." So it was kind of new meeting different students from different areas in New York, because at Nassau it was mostly students that from out here in Long Island,
more like local,
yeah,
and coming in from like right around the perimeter of Nassau.
Right.
What about the coursework? I always felt that Nassau's coursework was it was hard, and it was a lot to do. And then when I left here and I went to the 4-year, which ended up going to SUNY Westbury.
Oh, wow.
But then I went to Hofstra. But when I was at Hofstra, I was like, wow, this seems kind of easy compared to some of the courses at Nassau. How did you feel about that? Could you compare them, like something you took here and then you took at Oswego, and you're like, wow, this seems easy?
Yeah, definitely. Not necessarily the English courses, because once I got into Oswego, most of the classes were more technical.
Yeah.
But definitely when it came to math courses, like here I took algebra 2, trigonometry, pre-calc, and then calculus. And then when I got into Oswego, ended up taking Calc 2, and then I found I didn't really have to take that course, and I was like, okay, that's the extra credit on my transcript, so I'll just deal with it. But I noticed that the coursework is a little bit similar, but I do have to say that the coursework at Oswego was a little bit easier than here at Nassau, because the coursework at Nassau, it was a lot, but it was manageable. At Oswego, it was like a little bit more manageable, but the coursework was still heavy.
Right.
And now in grad school at Stony Brook, it's like there's a load, but it's like easier because all these assignments are papers. Right. And it's also based on, your experience, your opinion on things. So I feel like, looking at the 3 schools in general, it's like, I feel like it gets easier the higher you go because especially if you're doing, your master's or your doctorate or even, going for another bachelor's degree, there's going to be a load, but it's going to be a lot easier because you've done it before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does seem to be. And plus, you come with this knowledge base now. So your prior knowledge and experience really does sort of unfold. So now you're at Stony Brook in a higher education administration program. And what are some aspirations for that? What are they actually expecting of you as a student in order to graduate from a program like that?
One, being able to learn the material, like more into like the course material, because definitely the material in higher education in this graduate program is, it's a lot of different. Most of the core classes are, classes that we definitely have to be knowledgeable in, leadership, the foundations of higher education, diversity in higher education, student development theory, which is a big one, and the electives are based on our interests. So when I first started applying for classes, I already knew what electives I wanted to take based on my experience, because there was a class at Stony Brook that dealt with community colleges and higher education. Like, I could definitely take that class. I went to a community college and have experience from there. And there was also a class called Student Affairs, which is the department I actually want
your expertise.
Want to work in, because Student Affairs involves res life, student activities, student engagement, multicultural affairs, even career services. So that whole area I was very, very interested in. Dean of students, all that whole aspect of student affairs, something I was definitely interested in. And of course, the technology aspect and advising and counseling. So these different electives not only builds up our resume and in those certain classes, but it also gives us the opportunity to go into use our university experiences from when we were undergrads, or even when there's some people in that class who are have their masters, and some of the classes they're taking are electives for them. But it gives us that experience where we can go back to our institution where we work and apply what we learn. Like, for example, student development theory is a big part of the higher education program. So being able to implement what we learned in those courses, especially in student development theory, and being able to implement it to where we work, it helps us when we're dealing with the different varieties of students.
You are listening to Lion Tales on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. I'm your host, Dr. Lynnda Nadien, and our guest today is Nsikak Ekong, Nassau Community College class of 2019, a college and career counselor at Nassau Community College, and he's currently pursuing his higher education administrative degree from Stony Brook University. One of the things that I think is important to speak about, too, is how do we foster the equity and inclusion, especially for young males, black males, to foster that success as we move forward, into 2023 and beyond? Because now, we talk about the 21st century, but we're 23 years in now, so we're at a point where we want to see strong leaders and make helping young boys become strong men in the field. And how do you feel that's sort of not your total responsibility, but it is a factor of what you're doing in terms of equity and inclusion?
It definitely brings a different perspective when I think about it, because growing up, I didn't have a lot of male teachers.
Right. Especially
throughout middle school and high school. I can only probably count with my fingers. Like, I had about maybe 3. No, matter of fact, 4 throughout this is throughout grade school, elementary, middle school, and high school, and even now in college, I started to see that there were a lot of faculty and administrators of color, especially now. Most of them I still, even when I visit, back when I was, still an alum here before I started working here, there's still a lot of them that I still, go to as, mentors. And, one of them works student activities. One of them, who was the dean of students is now the VP of the college. So seeing them, it's, not only as aspirational, but it also brings that light of hope. It's like, okay, anybody can make it. No matter who you are, where you're from, what you are, it's there for you. Hold on. It's possible to get there, and there are resources out there to help you get to that point.
Right. I was watching a video of President Obama, and Steve Harvey, and they were speaking about, not having a dad or a mentor or a person in their life that promoted them, but at the same time they had multiple supports from family members and just generalized people, and they were saying that was some sort of a foundation for them for their level of success. And I thought it was so interesting because they're again like now in the field as leaders, and hopefully most men and women will aspire to be at that level. Now let's go back to some of your interests that you have now. You were playing something most recently besides the jazz ensemble when you were a student here.
Well, I played with a group called the Instrumental Sounds of Praise. So it's a group based in Hempstead. It started with a trumpet academy by one of my mentors who I still work with now. It started out in Kennedy Park, and then it ended up being, he started a group with, a lot of them are around my age. Some of them are a little bit older than me, and some of them are even young, or even like younger. Like the two youngest members right now are like 12, 13,
oh,
and
wow.
they go to the LaGuardia School for Arts. What I like about that group is that you have different generations of musicians, and being able to we play gigs at different various events, or some of them are church based, some of them are event based, but it gives us that array of all jazz music, but also contemporary. We get to learn different styles of music, and also learn from some of the older players about how they went through with their instrument, how they played certain styles of music. It's a skill to be able to play an instrument, and I don't want to lose that skill.
No, and it's a gift too to follow through. And there's so much about jazz. I mean, once you start listening to Miles, then you move to let's say Art Tatum, and then you move to like a Bill Evans, and it opens up this whole world. And we do have a great show at 90.3. Greg Bigelow hosts Shades of Jazz, so he also teaches us during the week. You are listening to Lion Tales on the voice of Nassau Community College. I would like to thank our guest, Nsikak Ekong, class of 2019. We thank you for your contributions to Nassau Community College. And how can our listeners contact you?
If you're on campus and you happen to be on the NCC campus, you can find me at the Gear Up House, which is 358 Davis Avenue. That's where the Europe office is. There's a campus event. You'll definitely find me there with my camera taking pictures. You can also find me on Instagram. I have a photography page, NC Sharp X Photos, and that's where I keep my portfolio of all my pictures and everything that I've done on there.
I would like to thank you for being our guest today. My name is Dr. Lynnda Nadien, and I serve as a director on the board of the Nassau Community College Alumni Association, and I am a proud graduate of Nassau Community College. Visit ncc.edu/alumni for more information about the NCC Alumni Association, and visit nccradio.org for more information about Lion Tales, including podcasts of past shows. Thanks for listening to Lion Tales here on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.